right, here we go. We are all in versus Alex Optional, the champion. One at a time?
Sure. Well, that's probably not good.
Oh, we're flipping. I don't know if this is the man we want to flip versus.
Not this week. Ooh. Deuce.
Oh! Today we are back at Prime Social and we are playing the $360 15K guaranteed timed tournament. So basically at the end of 8 hours, your chips will be converted to cash, however many you have accumulated. It's been raining the last few days here in Texas, so I'm actually underneath this tree recording this intro here. So yeah, let's get inside, let's get to this tournament. Hopefully we can make a deep run. Good luck out there. I have been notified that the very first hand that I'm showing in a lot of my vlogs happens to be King Jack, and that's not been on purpose, that's been an accident. So I made sure that the very first hand that I'm showing you here is not King Jack. We actually have Ace-9 of clubs here. There was a raise in middle position at the 100-100 level to 300. And we are at the beginning of this tournament, so we're very deep stacked. I think I can 3-bet or call, but I decided to call here in the cutoff this time. The flop comes 9-7 deuce with 2 diamonds. It checks to me, and I decide to bet 700 into this pot here, and the opponent calls. And then on the turn comes a 2 of spades, which I'm not really concerned about my opponent having a deuce here. I do think when they raise pre and take this check call line that a lot of the time they're just going to have overcards, so I'm going to continue to value bet my Ace-9 here. I bet 1,500 on the turn, and we end up getting a fold. Here we look down at Ace-Jack of spades at the 300 big blind level. There is an open in early position to 800. Next position raises to 2,400. In the hijack here, I decide to call. We're all very deep. This is a hand I definitely want to see a flop with. One other player calls, and then we go to the flop of 7, 8, 9, all spades. So we all check around here. I don't think this is a spot where I want to lead. I was actually thinking that the button was going to be a bit aggressive in this spot, so I was really happy to check. I was looking to get a check raise in, but it ends up checking around, and then on the turn, it is a queen of clubs, and it checks to me here, and then now at this point, with all checks on the flops, and a kind of a queen of clubs on the turn, I think that I need to start betting here. I choose a sizing of 2,500 with intentions of betting much bigger on the river to try to make it look like I'm block betting this turn to try to get to my spade draw or my straight draw, and I'm praying that another spade doesn't come on the river. Looking at it now, I really think I could probably bet bigger than 2,500 here, which is about a third of the pot. But anyway, the button calls, and then the initial raiser folds. So we go heads up to the river here. The river is a 10. And then I decide to bet here 10K into this pot, which is a bit over half pot. And my opponent on the button snap calls and shows King Jack. So they rivered the nut straight, but I had flopped the flush, and this opponent obviously was not happy, who would be happy, but they had lost a couple of big hands, including one earlier, which I didn't happen to catch the video, but we both had turned a flush. I had king 3 of hearts, they had jack 7 of hearts, and I picked up a huge pot versus them. So to get them again in a pot like this, they just were not happy, and again, I completely understand. The next notable hand that we have here is ace deuce of spades at the 600 big blind level. I am in the small blind, and we end up going 3 to the flop with the big blind after calling a 3x open pre-flop. The flop comes queen 6 jack with 2 spades, so I'm a fan of this flop for sure. We both check to the late position opener, and I decide to call the c-bet of 5100 here. Of course, I have the nut flush draw, we have a backdoor straight draw. Their sizing is a little bit concerning here. I am worried that they could have a big hand given the sizing to 2 other people, but of course with the nut flush draw, we are still going to continue. If we were shorter, we might raise, but I chose to just call here. And we go heads up to the turn. The turn is a 4 of diamonds. I check again here, and then my opponent bets 10k chips. And at this point, I am having to call off a noticeable amount of my stack with 1 card to go to try to make my flush. But I decided, all right, we're gonna call here and we're just gonna bank. We're gonna make it super easy. And I did call, and the river, we do end up getting there on the 10 of spades. And I don't love checking here just because I think too many people when the most obvious draw comes in are gonna check and they're not gonna be thin value betting their top pairs. And I don't know anything about this player, so assuming population tendencies, I am thinking they're gonna check. So I need to lead here. If it was a high level player, I think I can still check here because there will be some thin value betting still going on. But I choose a sizing of 11k here. It is a little bit smaller relative to the pot, but I wanted to make it look like a block bet and to leave room in case my opponent decided that I was weak and they wanted to try to raise me off of my hand. And unfortunately, they just end up calling. But fortunately, we win a massive pot here with the nuts. So this was great. You know, we'll actually show you here how much we have on this first break, but it's going good. It's fun, chatty table. And we have a guy, shout out to Giovanni at the table. He literally 3-bet me like 5 times in a row. And I was like, oh, I guess this guy's just got hands. He's just getting there. But then later on, he is telling us, he's like, oh yeah, it's like, because he won this huge pot with 7-8 offsuit in a spot where he like squeezed from the small blind really big. And he's like, yeah, I'm just, you know, playing a bunch of hands. He's like, I 3-bet him over there like 5 times in a row just because I wanted to get on the blog. And I actually thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, we're going to finish up this break and we'll keep you posted. So after the break here, not too long, and we look down at pocket 7s at the 1.5k big blind level. Pre-flop, there is a middle position open. I'm sitting in the hijack here, and I call the open to 4K. And then my man Giovanni, who we were just talking about on the break, squeezes the button to 13.5K. And we already discussed and told you about how Giovanni was playing really aggressive. He just wanted to raise, get on the vlog, and he was having a good time. There was even a lady who came to the table who was talking to him that was like, oh, he just plays so aggressive all the time. And he was living up to it. So in a spot like this where 3 of us are relatively deep, I'm definitely going to call here after the initial raiser calls as well. So super easy for me here. And we're going to a flop. The flop comes beautiful. One of the most exciting things in poker is flopping a set, especially in a bloated pot like this. It is King 4-7. and it checks around on the flop. I definitely thought Giovanni was going to continue betting here, but he decided to check, and the turn is a jack of diamonds, and the initial raiser actually bets out here 18.5k, which at this point is right around half the pot. I decide to call, and the button folds. So now it's heads up with the initial raiser as we go to a river jack. So now we have hit our full house. We are feeling pretty good about things. I do think that the initial raiser could still have a hand like King Jack. That's about it that would beat us. I don't think that they have pocket kings. I don't think that they have jacks here, given they just called pre-flop. So we're feeling really good about this card, and the opponent who bet the turn now jams all in. And I'm like, is my camera on? Let's go, baby. And I'm obviously not folding here. I call off my last 46.5k, and we find out that Villain in this hand, Villain, my opponent, whatever, tells me that they had pocket threes. So with the checks on the flop, they decided that they were just going to start blasting here. And they had a decent amount of chips, so when they put me all in here, they still had a nice stack to work with. So they're just keeping the pressure up, not putting me on a jack here often, I guess, and probably just reduced me to a one-pair hand. And they know that their threes aren't going to win a bunch at Showdown, so I think it makes sense. They took an aggressive line, and we win a big pot here. And the next hand that we have here, we have our man Giovanni in again. I look down at 8-9 offsuit in the big blind, and Giovanni had raised in an earlier position, which I don't necessarily think it means he has a big hand. Giovanni was raising a lot of hands, playing a lot of pots. So at this point, heads up with a hand like 8-9 offsuit, I'm definitely going to see a flop here, and I've got a bunch of chips, so we can take it to the streets. He opens to 3.5k. We call. The flop comes 6 queen 10, so we have a double gutty here, which is pretty cool. And of course, we're going to check to the initial raiser on this board, and he bets 4.5k on the flop. So not too bad, not too big. Definitely something that I can call here. We have a double gutty. I don't see any reason to raise on this board. And then the turn is a jack of clubs. So now we have made our straight, but we check the turn to him. He bets 11k, and of course I'm going to call and continue. The river comes a 10 of clubs. I check. He bets 30k. And at this point, given how aggressive we've seen that Giovanni's playing, I just don't think that we can fold a hand like this. And so we make the call, and Giovanni tables ace-5 of spades here. So he's still in his bluffing mode. Fortunately for us, we pick up a huge pot here, and we have about 223k at the 1.5k level after this massive pot. So we are feeling great. And this is going to take us into the second break here. All right, we are on the second break of this 360 8-hour timed tournament. We have like 230k, roughly, something like that. We're kind of coming to a little sweaty spot. We're in a decent situation with our chip stack size. We will keep you posted. See ya. And then we fast forward here to the 10k big blind level. Now, at this point, I have been a bit card dead. There have been some new players that come to the table. They're playing a bit aggressive, and we find ourselves getting close to the money bubble. And then we look down at ace-8 off. And at this point in the tournament, I am looking for good spots to just kind of stay alive if I'm not getting hands. I'm in early position here, and this is a bit wide of an open, but the blinds in this instance were a bit tighter, defending, check folding a lot. So I felt like if I was going to be opening, I wanted to be opening in early position. I would be 3-bet less. People would assume I am going to be opening a tighter range. Also, like I said at this point, I was having to fold a bunch, so I think my image was good for this. And we do end up taking this pot down, which was great. And then a few people end up busting out, and we are super close to the money bubble. 10 people left, and we are down to about 140, 150K chips or so. And it is getting sweaty. In this hand here, we look down at pocket 10s at the 12K big blind level. And one of the new players who has been quite aggressive at our table opens in late position. And this is a super easy jam with the pocket 10s. They very, very quickly fold. And we take down a much needed pot. But yeah, these are the really cool spots at tournaments where just your moves, the spots you pick, everything just counts so much. So important. So we're lucky to take that one down there. We find ourselves on the button with ace jack. There is an early position limp. We're playing 5-handed. And I just want to take this down here. I decide to put my stack in the middle.
I'm all in.
Very easily assuming we're going to be seeing a lot of folds here when somebody's limping on the bubble. And that's exactly what happens. So we're doing a little just managing our stack, managing the situation.
You got a pair?
And then there's a big hand here, pocket 10s versus ace 10 to bring us to the final table. So we're racking up our chips. We got about 184K as we are combining to the final table. We'll see our man Alex Optional, Event 1 champion, has all the chips again, man. So sick. Color up sucked though. Took away what looked like a bigger stack for me on the break. But we're still good. And this takes us to the third break.
All right, everybody. We have been at the final table for just a little bit here now. And it's the money bubble. 8 paid, 9 are sitting at the final table. We have like 13 blinds, but the blinds are about to go up. And shortest stack has like maybe 5 blinds. We have like 13. So yeah, just a tough spot. So we'll see how it goes. We might bubble, we might not, we might double up. We're just gonna have to wait and see. But it's sweaty, and we gotta sweat. And that's kind of, in this game, I feel like all you can ask for.
After the break, we come back to the 15K big blind level. The blue chips have been introduced, and with 8 paying, the shortest stack is all in here. And the very kind and nice Miss Lynn in the big blind is making the call here with pocket 6s. And the board runs out clean and the pocket 6s hold. So unfortunately, the gentleman in the small blind bubbles here. I think all of us can feel that pain, but GG's. And now we are officially in the money, 8-handed at the final table here. So can take a little breath. We're gonna get some money back. It's getting later in the evening, so it's nice to have managed our way to a cash here. And now we just have to try to spin it up. And then we're in the big blind here, still at the 15K big blind level. And I just included this because it was funny. Alex, with all the chips here, he just kept saying that he wanted to bust me out, right? He's like, oh, I'm gonna bust you, I'm gonna bust you. And he shoves on the button here. The small blind and myself here in the big blind. We're pretty short, so it's a good shove. He's got all the chips, applying a lot of pressure.
Isn't he being a bully, Lynn? He's being a bully, right? Alex just said that he is coming for us.
I'm out.
Oh no, can't do it.
What did you have? You had a 7 up there.
I did, yeah. I had your queen 7.
And then we have a big moment here. We are getting quite short, and we find ourselves ace-queen offsuit. We are in middle position here. Alex has raised in an earlier position to, I believe, 35K. And here we make it 80K. We not all in 3-bet here. We are obviously not folding. Alex does not think too long before putting us all in for the rest.
All in.
All right, here we go. So we are all in versus Alex Optional. the champion. One at a time?
Sure. Well, it's probably not good. Okay.
Oh, we're flipping. I don't know if this is the man we want to flip versus.
Not this week. Deuce.
Oh, get out of here.
Nice hand.
Nice hand. 115.
Your stack was so small though, it doesn't really bother me.
That was good.
116. I think so.
I'm gonna keep these chips in a separate stack right here. Yeah, keep them safe.
That's gonna be the Alex.
And then not too long after this hand, we are all in with the ace, king of diamonds here.
All in?
Could have raised. I actually don't hate that, but I just decided to put it all in here, keep it simple. We have about 270K at this point now, and we just take this down. And then after we take down this hand, Alex ends up knocking out a player. He had aces, must be nice, versus, I believe it was jacks. The player flopped a jack, but Alex turned an ace, or rivered an ace. It was sick to knock somebody out, and that would bring us down to 7 players. And then eventually we find ourselves 5-handed after a bunch of short stack ninjing, less than 10 big blinds. I believe we actually have about 8 big blinds. We look down at the queen 10 offsuit, and it is just too good, I think, to fold here. We really need to pick up these blinds before the blinds run through us again. So I'm ready to tango at this point. I decided to raise it to 70K with intentions of not folding. And we do get put all in by DJ in this hand. And we are off to the races.
Win this hand.
We are all in.
Come on, Drew.
At least we got to flip.
Come on, Drew.
We got to flip. Queen 10 versus 5s.
Come on.
Do I have a club?
Yeah. And get there.
No, that's...
Alex's true intentions are revealed. You knew you were going to
Nice hand, nice hand. GG's. GG's, nice hand. GG's.
No.
Nice hand. All right. That's all she wrote.
I didn't see.
That's all she wrote.
Don't go anywhere. At the end of this night, it was a long night. We were waiting for John to come back and pick us up. We had rented a car for this day, but he was coming back to pick us up, and we ended up having a very cool late night session here at Prime Social. You got to check this out.
Your heart is out. I'm sure you heard it all before, but you never really had a doubt. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. Woo! Yeah! Everybody, thanks for making it to the end of my video. No one does that, do they? All right, look. I respond to comments, so please leave a comment below the description and let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, check out some of my last videos here. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button here. All right, my name is Drew. Peace out. Catch up with you later.